Ladies and gentlemen, Julie Andrews.
This is the story of how a little girl from Walton-on-Thames became a superstar of stage and screen.
A modest, small career, so I thought, was launched.
Mary Poppins, Walt Disney's newest and most delightfully entertaining motion picture.
Julie Andrews is the ultimate Hollywood icon.
Her pitch-perfect, accomplished performances in iconic movies have captured the hearts of millions of fans.
She's just pure perfection.
Tonight, in the company of her friends,
she was a star from the opening night.
I mean, I have some stories.
Co-stars.
The crew, they all stood behind the camera and watched.
She had a lot of concern about, are they going to buy it?
And fans.
I thought, oh, if Mary Poppins is for it, it's fine.
The musicality is woven into her. It's in her DNA.
We're discovering the real woman.
I always used to feel tremendously vulnerable.
Behind the practically perfect image.
She did have quite a spicy mouth.
She doesn't swear.
Listen, when I met her, I didn't even think she went to the bathroom.
And we're sharing never-before-seen backstage footage from one of her greatest triumphs.
I think when you look at it, you can really see how much we adored her.
She's overcome adversity.
Rex Harrison had said to the producers, if you don't get rid of that cow, you won't have a show.
It was sink or swim.
Because she's the fighter she is, she does pick herself up.
And tragedy.
She just thought she had a bad throat. Singing is my first love.
Who is Julie Andrews without the voice?
But from 1950s Broadway to 21st century Bridgerton, she's remained one of our most enduring stars.
I'm always wanting to really cut loose.
She would hate me for saying this next thing, but she's practically perfect in every way.
Here goes Julie Andrews.
I met Julie Andrews because I was asked to present her tour here in the UK. I knew I was meeting somebody iconic, and I meant proper icon, someone who's been there and done it.
Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
And I think I must have just been like the kid at the sweet shop. You know, literally just lapping it all up.
Dame Julie Andrews has been a star for nearly 8 decades. But her early life was far from easy.
It sounds really sparkly and sequined, but actually, behind closed doors, it was a struggle for her.
In 1939, as war broke out across Europe, 4-year-old Julia Wells's world was rocked when her mother Barbara left her father Ted Wells, taking her daughter to live in London with a Canadian singer, Ted Andrews.
I think in an effort to get close to me, to make some contact with his new stepdaughter, my stepfather began to give me singing lessons. And to his enormous surprise, he discovered that I had an adult larynx at a very young age. It was like a 4-octave range, and I could do anything.
The fact that they had a daughter that had a 4-octave range and a lot of power, they're not just going to leave that sitting like a race car in the garage, are they?
So Julia Wells became Julie Andrews, joining her mother and stepfather in a musical vaudeville act. At 12, her talent was unleashed on the nation when the impresario Val Parnell offered her a spot on his variety show, Starlight Roof. What you are about to hear is the first ever Julie Andrews recording.
What she sings, Polonaise Je suis Tatiana Mignon by Ambrose Thomas, is a very difficult soprano aria.
She was the youngest live singer on the radio ever. So just think about that phrase in itself in the UK. The performance she gives is classically brilliant.
It's just a very clear, pure voice. I mean, she must have been pitch perfect.
We are looking at an almost fully formed singer at 12. That's very, very rare. It's stunning. It's cut glass crystal.
The very top note is an F6, which is you got high F, you got top F, then you got Julie Andrews. It's hard. It's really hard. She sings it like it's nothing. I doubt there has ever been another 12-year-old who could do that.
She was described around that time as a prodigy in pigtails, and that's what she was.
Just a year later, the prodigy in pigtails made her on-screen debut, singing the national anthem at the 1948 Royal Command performance.
The confidence to go and stand in front of a crowd that size at that age is extraordinary.
That is one exceptional voice, and you couldn't hide that anywhere. That had to be heard.
And it was heard. Throughout her teens, Julie toured regional theatres, bringing that extraordinary voice to audiences across the UK.
It must have been kind of lonely for Julie. I mean, she was out on tour in a grown-up world.
She was from a broken home to start with, had to deal with that, had to deal with life on the road. She was touring as a kid, you know, missing school. I asked her, did you have any friends your own age? And I don't think she did have many, a handful, if that. You know, her life was spent with adults.
I always used to feel tremendously vulnerable, and I would find that for no reason at all I would be bursting into tears. It might have been my age, it might have been my mood at that day, I don't know, but the fact that I was singing, sometimes it would get too much for me.
She was a teenage sensation, and her parents were sort of on the wane as a music hall act, as she was on the steep ascent.
Ted Andrews had always liked to drink, and this had grown and grown until he was an alcoholic. Julie was paying much of the mortgage, the food bill, the booze bill, her half-brother's school fees, and really carrying the can for the family.
She had the kind of upbringing that would have ruined most people emotionally. So she is remarkable.
She was always going to be a mega star.
Any girl who's reached the age of 17 or thereabout has but one desire in view.
In 1953, the first stepping stone to megastardom was laid when, at just 18, Julie was offered a role that would change her life.
The Boyfriend was a very, very big hit in the West End. It's a pastiche of the 1920s, and they were itching to take it to Broadway. And Hattie Jakes, who knew the producers, said, go and see the girl playing Cinderella at the London Palladium, because I think you'll find her rather extraordinary. So they went and knew instantly that that was their Polly Brown.
On the 23rd of August, 1954, 18-year-old Julie Andrews boarded a flight from London bound for Broadway.
I think that there was four of us. It was Julie and Dilys Lay and Stella Clare and me. She was young, she was very innocent, she was just lovely. I mean, you just wanted to hug her.
There was a real bravery there, and probably an appreciation of these opportunities.
The minute we started rehearsals, we knew she was going to be an enormous hit.
On the day before her 19th birthday, Julie Andrews stepped onto the Broadway stage for the very first time.
I'm not one to make predictions, but I've thrown off all restrictions.
I mean, the audience on the opening night just stood up and screamed at her. She was a star from the opening night. She was so easy to be with, you know, and after the show at night, we'd pick up Chinese food and go back to the apartment and put the telly on and watch a movie, and just a really fun time with her.
I think that not enough is made of The fact that this young girl went to America and made a name for herself, really, it must have been so scary. And of course, then it leads to even greater things.
Coming up, a career crisis.
I was just terrible and very out of my depth.
Leads to a mega star-making movie.
And she was sexy.
As co-stars share their on-set memories.
That was all improvised, you know.
In 1954, at just 18 years old and 3,000 miles from home, Julie Andrews had made her Broadway debut.
What you have to be to do what you did is to be tough.
You know, if somebody pushes you towards the edge of a cliff, you jump. And it was sink or swim.
A year later, she returned to Britain a star.
I'd like to welcome you back again to England. Are you glad to be home?
Yes, I'm very happy indeed.
But it would be a fleeting visit. While in New York, she'd had an audition with smash hit musical composers Lerner and Loewe, who were looking for a lead for their brand new Broadway show.
Now she's really scared. I'm sitting there and she's going around picking up all her stuff, getting a little nervous. The language got a little salty, as it could with Jules. And she was all the way to the door with her stuff, her bag, and she opened the door and she looked at me and she said, "Here goes Julie Andrews." Slammed the door. And I knew she'd get it.
And she did get it. In 1956, at the age of just 20, she returned to the States to create the role of Eliza Doolittle in My Fair Lady.
Therein lay the biggest challenge of her career.
When I first got over there, I was just terrible and very out of my depth, very green, and I didn't know what the hell was going on. And I had a feeling that if only somebody would work with me, I could do it, but only I knew that, and I don't think anybody else did.
Director Moss Hart was in the back of a cab with his wife, the singer Kitty Carlisle Hart, and Kitty Carlisle told me that he had turned to her in the cab and he'd said, "Is Julie as bad as I think?" And Kitty said, "She's worse."
He suggested that the company disappear for 48 hours and that he and I just work together. And he did, I mean, he showed me how to be Eliza. He bullied and he pleaded and he cajoled and he bossed me about. And after 48 hours, he'd really shaped me into Eliza Doolittle.
But mastering the challenges of playing Eliza wasn't the only problem Julie faced.
Are you beginning to identify yourself with Professor Higgins?
No, not in the least, no.
Rex Harrison was not a nice man. Years later, she said that Rex Harrison had said to the producers, "If you don't get rid of that cow," and I'm pretty sure he didn't use that word, "you won't have a show."
The music hall background of working with all these stars, and particularly male comedians, she'd built up a great resilience and didn't allow it to affect her.
Moss Hart credited her for this by saying she has that terrible English strength that makes you wonder why they lost India.
I could have danced all night, I could have danced all
My Fair Lady opened in Broadway's Mark Hellinger Theatre in March 1956. And this rare performance footage shows that Julie triumphed as a convincingly raw and wistful Cockney flower girl.
All I want is a room somewhere far away from the cold night air, with one enormous chair. Wouldn't it be lovely?
Before transforming effortlessly to polished, elocuted lady.
I could have danced all night, I could have danced all night, and still have been for more.
And I went and saw the show. Wonderful, wonderful, just amazing.
The transition from the Cockney, scrappy girl to that incredibly beautiful, elegant, regal Eliza. It was just, you know, magnificent. She just took your breath away.
It was the biggest success of its day, of its decade. You could not get tickets
Did you have any qualms before the first night?
Oh, gosh, yes, lots. My stomach was turning over and over, but it sort of died down as we began. Once the first song was over, it was all right.
And I remember when I met her, she said, well, of course, in my day, dear, there weren't any lavaliers. And at I was like, I don't know what a lavalier is. It was a microphone. And then she talked about losing the top 2 notes of her vocal range because she had to strive 8 shows a week to reach the back of the house.
She came into London and it was huge. It was as big a success in London as it had been on Broadway.
And this professional triumph came with personal happiness. In 1959, Julie married her childhood sweetheart, theatrical production designer Tony Walton.
It looked all set to be marvellous for Julie, to be not only the hottest star in the West End, but also playing Mrs. Walton of Walton-on-Thames.
With My Fair Lady a huge hit, all of Hollywood turned their sights on turning this musical into a movie.
Jack Warner had spent $6.3 million on purchasing the property for the cinema. That was the largest price ever paid for a stage property in those days. So he needed a bona fide star.
And though the movie mogul signed Rex Harrison, Julie lost the role to Tinseltown Golden Girl Audrey Hepburn.
I understood why Audrey was chosen, and I hadn't ever made a film before and was a complete unknown as far as films were concerned. I was disappointed. I mean, I would have loved to have done it, obviously, and was hoping that I might be asked. But it's hard to be resentful when right around the corner Walt Disney happened to be waiting.
Cut to Hollywood, California, and the studios of the king of animation, who was planning a musical film of his own. Set in London and developed from a series of children's books by P.L. Travers.
Mary Poppins, Walt Disney's newest and most delightfully entertaining motion picture.
She was on Broadway, and Walt went to see her and said, well, that's my Mary Poppins, and asked her if she was available, and she said, well, I'm about to have a baby. And he said, well, we can wait. You're my Mary.
So in 1963, Julie, along with Tony and 3-month-old baby Emma, travelled from London to Los Angeles to film the magical tale of the mysterious nanny who saves a fractured family.
I can't believe that a brand new mother, first-time movie, you know, how huge that was.
Julie in Mary Poppins is just magical.
It's one of the great entrances in cinema.
Perhaps it's a witch. Of course not. Witches have brooms.
I think it's the fact that you've got that lovely, slow version of Spoonful of Sugar as she's coming down. And also a kind of sense of, wow.
She was flying. It doesn't look like she was ever on wires.
And from that first mesmerising moment, she made the role her own.
As I expected, Mary Poppins, practically perfect in every way.
There's just no flaws in the voice, in how she looks, in how she is. She's just pure perfection.
For a first film, it's so confident, it's so self-assured.
There was a song written for Mary Poppins called Through the Eyes of Love, which is a beautiful song. And Julie said, I adore the whole score except for this song, which I think is too steeped in sentiment. And I want something a little bit more sort of punchy as an opening anthem for Mary Poppins. And that's where Spoonful of Sugar came from.
That a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down, the medicine go down, medicine go down. Just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down in a most delightful way.
Her enunciation is fantastic. You never miss any words that she's singing, so she tells the story so brilliantly.
And with that voice, she like vibrates this incredible energy around her, which translated to the screen. There was so much magic, and Julie really fed into that for us.
Give me your hand, please, Michael. Don't slouch. 1, 2...
Mary Poppins was a technical triumph, creating a magical mashup of live action and vibrant animation for the first time on screen.
When she jumps into the pavement and she goes into that kind of carousel world, it blew my mind. And it took my very lovely, monochrome childhood into glorious Technicolor.
Not least in the film's most famous song, where the glorious Technicolor blended seamlessly with cartoon characters and iconic tongue-twister lyrics.
Supercalifragilistic, which just feels like an explosion of emotion.
Oh, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious.
That character of Mary Poppins comes to life in these songs. She sort of can't at any other time. She's that buttoned up. But the sheer joy of the moments when she's dancing with Dick Van Dyke.
You can say it backwards, which is docious ali expiistic fragicali rupus, but that's going a bit too far, don't you think?
And to think that she'd never done a film before, and she did it with such prowess, is amazing.
As a first film, it was a little staggering because I was asked to do things like when the penguins are dancing with Mary Poppins and things. Well, of course, there were no penguins. They were all drawn later and done as cartoon, so it was very difficult to pretend one was looking at us.
The technical trickery of Mary Poppins created movie magic, but it also meant a grueling schedule and long days on set.
She had her newborn baby, Emma, with her, and she was nursing her. She was never grumpy. She was I always thought of her as a rather naughty girl, because she did have quite a spicy mouth. She would say what she felt, and very funny, very funny. I mean, she and Dick were clowning around constantly. She had a waist this size. She was a tiny little thing, and also was sexy. I noticed all the crew were always checking her out.
The song I love her singing more than any other is Feed the Birds, because it has heartbreak in it.
Early each day to the steps of St. Paul's, the little old bird woman comes in her own special way to the people she calls. Come buy my bags full of crumbs.
Her voice seems to have such a melancholy and such heart and soul and love, everything in those phrases. And I don't know how she does it.
Feed the birds, tuppence a bag, tuppence, tuppence, tuppence a bag.
She did a vast number of recordings for Feed the Birds because she was so aware of its danger to veer into sentimentality. And so she kept peeling back.
Many people could sing it. No one in the world ever could sing it like her.
The crew who would normally, get off the lot to go out and have a sandwich, they all stood behind the camera, and there was that feeling of like, ooh, we might be onto something here, because we had an audience already. It's such a good message, putting the family back together.
Coming up,
Oh, it is lovely.
a surprisingly saucy scene.
After 7 solid minutes of snogging James Garner, her knees buckled.
And never-before-seen home movie footage as we go behind the scenes on Julie Andrews' most iconic film.
Julie was so heartwarming to all of us. I mean, I have some stories.
It's supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, even
Mary Poppins was the biggest film of 1964, turning Julie Andrews into an overnight superstar and earning her an Academy Award.
Oh, it is lovely. I know you Americans are
famous for your hospitality, but this is really ridiculous.
She wouldn't have done it had she done My Fair Lady. It's amazing. Thank God Audrey Hepburn did My Fair Lady.
At the 1965 Golden Globes, Julie picked up a second Best Actress award, and this time her speech was delivered with wide-eyed innocence and just a spoonful of cheekiness aimed at the producer of My Fair Lady.
Finally, my thanks to a man who made a wonderful movie and who made all this possible in the first place, Mr. Jack Warner.
The audience is sort of like, is she being funny? Oh, she's being sarcastic.
It's a risky move in Hollywood as well. That's someone literally standing on stage at the Golden Globes and insulting one of the most powerful studio heads.
Only Julie could get away with that.
And Julie's sense of humour would appear again, this time at the expense of a new Broadway musical.
The Sound of Music was the last thing that Rodgers and Hammerstein ever wrote together. It was much maligned and mocked on Broadway for being very, very sugary. And one of the mockers was Julie Andrews. She did a huge spoof at Carnegie Hall with her dear friend Carol Burnett, where she played the matriarch of the Pratt family of singers.
I'm Mama.
I'm Papa. I'm Peter. I'm Franz. I'm Ludwig. I'm Johann. I'm Wolfgang. I'm Hans. I'm Richard. I'm Rudolph.
One of the funniest things about the Swiss family Pratt is the proliferation of children. Not just 7, it's about 70.
And it's a tremendous, tremendous spoof.
And this was not lost on Richard Rodgers, who viewed Julie Andrews' name askance when it came to the casting of the screen version of The Sound of Music. But Robert Wise told me that the gods were on our side. It was the role she was born to play.
From the outset, The Sound of Music was epic, with director Robert Wise making full use of the spectacular Austrian alpine scenery to create the magical moment when we first meet the wayward novice nun, Maria.
Her on that mountaintop is just a breathtaking sort of goosebump moment.
Julie Andrews has this very particular kind of charisma, which very few film stars have this. She is able to walk onto a mountain in the middle of Austria with a helicopter miles above her head and own the screen.
So the helicopter would come towards me and get closer and closer, and it would make a circle and go back. But every time it made the circle to go back, it would knock me flat from the downdraft of the jets. And so I would do my lovely bit, and then it would go bam, you know.
She takes a part and she commits to it. She doesn't do anything half by halves.
I know that we were all very aware that it could be over-saccharine and sweet, and we had to be very careful about it, that with religion and nuns and children and mountains and all that sweetness going on, it was too much. And so we all tried to play it down and make it very real.
But it wasn't saccharine due to moments like this one. When the widowed Captain Von Trapp, whose military-style parenting was perfectly portrayed by Christopher Plummer, introduced his 7 children to their visibly overwhelmed governess.
She plays this like all great screen actors without saying a word. The great screen actors tell you what's going on without telling you a word.
I'm Angela Cartwright, and I played Brigitte Von Trapp in the movie The Sound of Music. First thing comes to mind is my favorite things. That was the first scene we actually shot, and I think when you look at it, you can really see how much we adored her.
Raindrops on roses and whiskers on kittens, bright copper kettles and warm woolen mittens, brown paper packages tied up with strings. These are a few of my favorite things.
In the progression of Julie's career, you could see a lot more maturity in The Sound of Music. But more than anything, just her interaction with the kids is just so joyous.
And that joy was also evident off-screen, as this home movie footage shows, filmed by Angela Cartwright's mum on location around Salzburg and seen here for the first time on TV.
Julie was so heartwarming to all of us and fun. I mean, I have some stories. She taught us supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, and she taught us to say it backwards, docious aliexballistic fragilcalorufus. See, there's certain things that you just don't forget.
Location filming was due to take 4 weeks, but the cast and crew spent 3 months in Salzburg.
Because of the weather. Like, comes in fast, it'll pour, and then it'll go away and the sun will come out. When we were doing Do Re Mi on the mountain, and we would just go in the barn and practice, and then they would say, the sun's out, and we would all go out and do our bit. It was something working around that weather.
But the finished scene was well worth the wait, giving us an iconic song and a dazzling performance from Pitch Perfect Julie.
Doe, a deer, a female deer, Ray, a drop of golden sun, me, a name I call myself, far, a long, long way to run. So, a needle pulling thread.
She is just living every moment. She's feeling it. She's not just singing it.
She also gives the impression of being able to teach without knowing she's teaching. And that's a really beautiful thing. But it's 100% in Julie Andrews' performance.
The songs just seem to have been written with her in mind. They suit her so well.
There are certain things in the songs that she sang that she put into the songs, like, oh, I can hit that higher note, so I'll do that at the end of Do Re Mi. And of course, everybody loved that because it was so spectacular. When we did the boat scene, poor Kimmy couldn't swim, so that kind of ruined the take because someone had to go in and save her. Between those takes, when you think of filming something like that, they have to reset everything. And we would sit wrapped in blankets, sipping brandy, because it was so cold. And, you know, she was right there with us. She wasn't off somewhere.
Then you've got this lovely romance with Captain Von Trapp as well.
I think the chemistry with Christopher Plummer in The Sound of Music is extraordinary.
Not least in this scene, as Julie and Christopher Plummer expertly displayed the deepening feelings between their characters.
I don't remember anymore. Your face is all red. Is it? I don't suppose I'm used to dancing.
When they come together in the garden, the two of them, that's a beautiful moment.
Christopher Plummer always said we should have had a stonking great affair, but it's probably best that we didn't.
Perhaps the most poignant moment in the film came as the newly married captain and Maria said goodbye to an Austria in the grip of Nazi occupation.
I think my favorite song is Edelweiss. It's so simple and just so beautiful. I think that it's such a moving scene.
The very fact that Christopher Plummer is able to stand up and sing Austria's non-Nazi national anthem, although it's been created for the show by Rodgers and Hammerstein, and that she recognises how important it is that he gets that out, and that it's a lovely performance on her part.
And as the family and the audience united for the final chorus of the song, the hope for the future was palpable and the moment incredibly moving.
It's that moment for me is just magic.
The Sound of Music premiered on the 2nd of March 1965.
I remember her at the premiere. She looked so beautiful. She came over and hugged me.
And the film was an instant phenomenon.
It achieved the impossible. In 18 months, it ended the 26-year reign of Gone with the Wind as the greatest box office champion of all time in the cinema.
I can't say that any of us knew that it would have the lasting effect that it has on people. And it's such an honor to be part of such an iconic film.
People looking at Julie's career might think, oh, was that a savvy move to do The Sound of Music right after playing Mary Poppins?
Anytime we want a real goody-goody for a movie, we go straight to Julie Andrews.
Yes.
With Mary Poppins and The Sound of Music. Did that really get on your nerves after a while?
Well, I have to tell you, I don't sort of knock the image because it did give so many people so much pleasure. And I managed to squeeze in a little film in the middle of it called The Americanization of Emily,
Yes.
which was kind of a bit
Yes.
bawdy and raunchy, and I
Yes.
loved that.
Set in World War II and co-starring James Garner, the Americanization of Emily allowed Julie to play a very different role.
And strangely, this contains one of her very best performances.
I like your spirit, Commander.
It was Julie's first ever on-screen sex scene, and it is quite a steamy scene. She said that after 7 solid minutes of snogging James Garner, her knees buckled. She was completely gooey. It was a success, but Mary Poppins and The Sound of Music were such runaway hits that it just sort of eclipsed the Americanization of Emily.
And you proved that she's a great actress, but I think we're all longing for her next musical.
Julie Andrews in a wonderful gay comedy with music that spoofs the Wild 20.
And in 1967, she gave us her next musical. Thoroughly Modern Millie was the story of a small-town girl turned feisty New York flapper, hunting for a job and a man.
I did love Thoroughly Modern Millie because it showed a different side again to Julie. It showed she could dance. And who knew she could tap so well?
Some showgirls used to practice their routines in here. I think it did something to the machinery.
It's a really interesting sort of sequence because you've got this broken lift, this tap dance sequence, and a discussion about sexual politics and women in the workplace.
For the first time, we're man's equal. We can go out into the world and make a life for ourselves. And I fully intend to. So do I.
Anyway, it's great. I don't think I've ever seen a scene like that before or since in Hollywood.
When Thoroughly Modern Millie was released in 1967, it became the biggest ever box office success for Universal Studios. This young woman has starred in the biggest ever hit on Broadway, an Oscar-winning screen debut, the lead role in the biggest hit ever made, and of course, like all good things, it had to come to an end.
Coming up, Julie's career suffers a setback.
If you can survive a flop that big, you can sort of weather any storm.
As she tries to shed her practically perfect image.
You had a bumper sticker on your car that said Mary Poppins is a junkie.
Yes, I loved it.
By 1967, at the age of 32, Julie Andrews was Hollywood's most bankable star.
She never, ever, ever pulled the star thing. She's a proper lass.
I was in the apartment and the phone went and I picked it up and she said, "Hello, Chum, it's Jules." And I said, I'm stunned. I said, "How did you get my number?" She said, "I phoned the telephone people." And I said, "This is Julie Andrews, and if you don't give me Millicent Martin's phone number, I'm going to sing all the time and you won't be able to put your phone down." She's wonderful. She is great, great fun.
But her professional triumphs came at a price.
To all intents and purposes, she was a single parent. Tony Walton was elsewhere designing sets for films and stage and opera. And this eventually led to their divorce in 1968. But it was more than her disintegrating marriage. A lot of the issues she'd stored up since childhood were coming back to haunt her.
Behind closed doors, it was a struggle for her, having to manage her mum and a difficult stepfather and a broken family.
The stepdad, by all accounts, wasn't an angel, let's put it that way. She had a lock on her door. That tells you everything you need to know.
In her own book, Julie revealed the fact that Ted Wells, her beloved father, wasn't actually her father. The man who was someone with whom Barbara had had a 2 or 3 night fling. When she looked at her little daughter, Emma, she thought, how can I be the best mother that I need to be? And she found the answer in psychoanalysis.
And it was after a visit to her therapist that Julie had a chance encounter that would change her life forever.
She saw the same car coming and going on various occasions, and one day she saw the window come down in that car, and a man leant out and he said, "You're Julie Andrews?" And she said, "Yes, and you're Blake Edwards." And that's how they met.
Julie and the Pink Panther director embarked on a romance that stunned Hollywood.
It couldn't be more opposite, but we know what opposites do. Big time attract.
He's a maverick. She really isn't. She toes the line. He's the one breaking the rules.
How much is she like, Mary Poppins?
I think it's a fairly easy answer. Just get her to run through her 4-letter word vocabulary, and you find out.
She doesn't swear.
Listen, when I met her, I didn't even think she went to the bathroom.
Despite their differences and a 13-year age gap, in 1969, Blake and Julie married and together built a blended family with her daughter Emma and Blake's 2 children.
She talks so fondly about that time of family and stuff like that. And I think, you know, maybe that was her time to do that, because she didn't really get that as a kid.
Blake and Julie also began a professional collaboration with one mission in mind.
I know she wanted to make sure that she was not typecast as this kind of sweet nun or nanny.
In 1968, filming began on Darling Lily, a Blake Edwards film aimed at transforming the Julie Andrews image.
Julie plays a kind of Marta Hari-esque spy who has German heritage but is masquerading as a beloved English music hall performer.
And not the girl back home you used to know. Oh no, there's somebody special who needs you.
And so she takes her rather squeaky clean music hall act and makes it a spoof of her burlesque act, and it's really pretty delicious. You can sort of tell it's been shot by her husband because it's shot with enormous love and enormous admiration.
How do you see her as a film property at this moment right
Well, he
now?
gets to sleep with me, if that's what you mean.
But despite the daring performance and a Golden Globe nomination for Julie, Darling Lily was not a success, costing $25 million to make and taking just $5 million at the box office.
People didn't want to see Maria von Trapp drinking, swearing, and I suppose it's quite hard for her to have tried to jump out of the mould.
Julie often jokes that if you can survive a flop that big at the beginning of your relationship, then you can sort of weather any storm.
For the rest of the decade, Julie performed 2 supporting roles in Blake's films. Firstly as Dudley Moore's no-nonsense girlfriend in 10.
You're a dirty old man, George, and so's your friend.
He's not my friend.
Well, he should be. You must know him intimately by now.
don't watch him, I watch his Broads. He's got a hell of a stable over there.
Then he must be pretty good in the sack, huh?
Julie's role was supporting, but she acquitted herself very well.
And in Blake's satirical take on Hollywood, S.O.B., the trailer screamed Julie's image change.
Starring Julie Andrews, as you've never seen her before.
Topless. But S.O.B. struggled to make an impact at the box office.
This is the problem with the industry, that we don't want to give people we love, performers that we love, a chance to show us another side, because we might not like it.
You said before, just now, that you were always too controlled. That is a, if you like, a popular image of you, perpetrated by Mary Poppins and Sound of Music, that I, because I've had the pleasure of knowing you personally, have never seen.
I think I recognize in myself that there's a certain crisp quality that comes through.
Yes, but you had a bumper sticker on your car that said Mary Poppins is a junkie.
Yes, I loved it. Yeah. No, I'd love to do one of those mad characters. I'm always wanting to really cut loose.
I made the biggest mistake, and she won't mind me telling the story, I'm sure. Sorry, Julie, if you do. But what initially, in my original introduction to her on the first concert, I said, I'm going to say something like, you know, that you're supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. And she went, no, don't do that. I thought, yeah, fair enough. You've probably heard that quite a bit, so I won't use that.
Then, in 1981, Julie took a role in a Blake Edwards film that was perhaps her biggest risk to date.
This was a film where Julie took what I think was her last chance to reinvent herself to a mass public.
She hadn't played a lead role in a hit film for more than a decade, and the new project was a musical, an all but dead genre in 80s Hollywood. But this one had a twist.
Playing a woman, playing a man, playing a woman.
Oh, baby, won't you play me the jazz hop?
The first time I met Julie was on the set of Victor Victoria. So, even though she's such an extraordinary icon that I was speechless.
I think really it's just a fabulous role, and I mean I'd be a fool to stay in a Mary Poppins or Sound of Music image all my life. I think people would be very bored with it, and I certainly would. And since I'm an actress, I'm really delighted to have different and varied roles to play, and Victor Victoria is just a wonderful thing for any actress.
The film reunited Julie with her Americanization of Emily co-star James Garner, with Robert Preston playing the role of Victoria's gay best friend, Toddy.
Julie plays a down-on-her-luck soprano who is encouraged by the gentleman that becomes her gay best friend in the film to masquerade as a drag queen, because then her extraordinary range will be more saleable and more unique.
She had a lot of concern about, is it going to be, are they going to buy it? Then how do I make this incarnation a real one? She relied a lot on Blake for that, as, you know, she should. It worked. She was magnificent.
There's a sequence where Julie Andrews takes the girlfriend into a bedroom and starts stripping in front of her. And the beautiful thing about it is the girlfriend thinks she's about to be sexually molested.
What are you doing? Oh, my God. Oh, what is happening? What are you... Oh, God. What is happening? Right!
And the way that Julie Andrews does it is incredibly masculine. Just this very, very aggressive performance.
That was all improvised, you know? So we had a great time.
The film's pièce de résistance comes when Julie, playing Victoria, playing Victor, playing a woman, performs for the first time on stage.
Baby, won't you play me the jazz hop? Maybe, and don't ever let it end.
The routine is delicious. Everybody is neat as a pin.
So come on in and play me the jazz hop, baby, 'cause I love my jazz.
She is not just playing a man, playing a woman, which is hard enough in itself. She's also singing a huge production number song and tap dancing. It's like, what else is there left for me to do? Do you want me on a unicycle as well?
One of the things I love is the great glissando at the end and how consistent the voice is through that great glissando.
I think the reveal that she does, and I see her, the character, struggling with, oh my God, are they going to believe this? I saw all of that in that moment, but I also saw the apprehension of the character in that moment before she takes the hair piece off.
She's just given you 3 minutes of film time that you're never going to get again because no one else can do that. You name me an actor working today who could pull that off.
I think it's no accident that she gravitated towards these films about friendships with gay men who were brilliant, troubled, only seen by her protagonist properly. And it's something that I, as a teenager, found hugely moving and hugely encouraging. I thought, oh, if Mary Poppins is for it, it's fine.
I have heard that so many times from all kinds of people, from fans who write and say exactly that. So it was groundbreaking, for sure.
It's a great film. It's really, really funny. She's very, very good in it. That is her best Blake Edwards film by a long, long way.
Coming up, as she enters her 6th decade of stardom, Julie faces a personal tragedy.
It was a shock, you know, it was devastating.
In 1983, Julie was nominated for her 3rd Oscar for Victor Victoria. Back in Demand, the years that followed brought grittier, more dramatic roles.
There are times when talent counts less than courage.
Duet for One, she plays this phenomenal violinist who develops multiple sclerosis and very slowly loses the ability to play. Her performance as someone who's lost everything and raging against it, raging against the way she's been betrayed, it's really strong.
I'm just this ugly, crippled woman who's hanging around your neck, and you've gone off and found yourself a fresh, young thing.
You asked me to tell you what I feel.
And now I see. It's all been a lie, hasn't it? You married me because I was famous, and who were you? You were nothing.
Whenever she has those moments in film, they're rare, but they absolutely corkscrew into your soul because they're so real. And she is such a good actor.
We'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when.
Throughout her long career, Julie continued to sing. In the 1970s, she had her own series of TV specials.
Really, I don't think I've ever stopped singing. It's just that sometimes I don't get as much time as I would love to practice.
Chase the dark clouds far away.
Her voice is like a smooth river over pebbles.
Julie made 25 albums in total. In 1992, she revisited Sound of Music composers Rodgers and Hammerstein to record her version of The King and I, allowing cameras a rare glimpse at the process as her rich vocals blended effortlessly with the lyrical score.
Shall we fly? Shall we dance? Shall we then say goodnight and mean goodbye?
Seeing Julie do the studio recording of The King and I was mind-blowing. You rarely get to see her with an orchestra, and you really feel her sort of gelling with all of that. The musicality is woven into her. It's in her DNA, isn't it? And I think that seeing her in that studio recording, you really see her musicality. She's not afraid to say, hey, try this or do that. And she works for every moment of the music.
I'm going to do after children. I'm going to do a little intake of breath, which will give you a clue that I'm about to say.
Way, John.
Okay, fine. And the children.
The children, and I'm going to go, it's like it hurts. The children, it's like I forgot about them, you know?
Right, that's right. Good.
I'll not forget the children.
You're not just singing it. And I think that's really important to remember. The best singers sing from the heart.
Julie has perfect pitch. I was going to an audition, and I went into Jules and I said, I haven't got the sheet music. I know you read. I said, it goes like this. There were stars in the sky. And she said, B flat. I said, okay, thank you very much.
In 1993, Julie's perfect pitch, versatility and vocal dexterity were on full display in an intimate review of the complex music and witty lyrics of Stephen Sondheim.
Listen, everybody, look, I don't know what you're waiting for. A wedding? What's a wedding? It's a prehistoric ritual where everybody promises fidelity forever, which is maybe the most horrifying word I ever heard, which is followed by a honeymoon where suddenly he'll realize he's saddled with a knot and want to kill me, which he should.
Her patter is incredible. Her enunciation's incredible. So it doesn't surprise me that she's brilliant at Sondheim. She's clear as a bell. And you never miss a word. And that's really important when you're performing Sondheim.
Singing is my first love, the thing that I probably started with and hopefully will never stop.
In 1995, after an absence of nearly 40 years, Julie returned to Broadway, bringing Victor Victoria, the film she'd wowed audiences with a decade earlier, to the stage.
The audience was so happy to see her. It's quite moving, but like a 10-minute standing ovation. She couldn't get this started in the show. She just came on, and the whole audience, it was everybody crying just to think about it. Everybody was so moved by it.
But the production proved an immense challenge for the now 60-year-old star.
She just thought she had a bad throat. She was also exhausted. And it's very sad because she did say to me, I said, what do you want to do when Victor Victoria is over? You're not going to do another show, are you? No. She said, I just want to enjoy singing for people, for smaller venues. And that was taken away from her.
She had an intercaudal cyst that dated back to My Fair Lady. Very small. She thought, I must get this dealt with.
In 1997, Julie underwent routine surgery on her vocal cords. No one could have predicted the tragic outcome.
Very sadly, the surgeon botched the operation. He took out perfectly healthy cord around the cyst, and it meant that her ability to hold notes and the whole upper register was gone.
It was a shock, you know, it was devastating, and knowing that what she cherished and treasured about her own instrument, that it would be taken away and limited so severely.
Every singer fears, what happens if I wake up one day and I can't sing? Mm-hmm. First of all, what will I do with my voice? But more importantly, who am I? It's your very identity. I think for someone who was singing from such a young age, who is Julie Andrews without the voice?
Coming up, we hear from those whose lives have been touched by Julie Andrews.
And I just looked at her and thought, that's Mary Poppins.
In 1997, Julie Andrews faced the biggest challenge of her career when a routine operation permanently damaged her glorious voice.
That must have been devastating for that to have happened to her. And I suppose, where do you go from there?
But as the 21st century dawned, Julie, now Dame Julie, showed us exactly where she was headed.
Because she's the fighter she is, she does pick herself up, and then she does the Princess Diaries, doesn't she? And creates a whole new audience for herself.
The Princess Diaries was a huge hit, and 2 years later, a sequel proved yet again that Julie Andrews was a woman who could overcome any challenge.
In the new movie, Princess Diaries 2, I tried the smallest moment of a song, but I start it by talking, I touch very lightly, and then I hand it off to the kids in the film.
And she is great. She's great.
Dear little girl, you are terribly blessed, but it's your heart of gold I love the best, and that will be your crowning glory, your whole life through.
I'm slightly choking up now because it's phenomenal. It's like the triumph of hope over adversity. It really is.
It's not victim-like, is it? You don't let things knock you. You just get on and go to the next thing.
And that then sparks out this sudden realization that everybody loves her. We've always loved her. Of course we have. I mean, it's Julie Andrews.
And Dame Julie Andrews has proved an inspiration to the generations that followed.
I was asked if I wouldn't mind singing Edelweiss with her. I'll have a think for a millisecond. Every night was hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. One of the greatest moments in my career happened in Liverpool. And she just turned to me and said, "Kid, that was a great show tonight." And I just looked at her and thought, that's Mary Poppins.
The girl the public have cast to be Maria von Trapp is Connie!
Winning the part of Maria completely transformed my life. But I felt that I had been a little bit Julie all of my life. I actually was invited to New York by the head of Rodgers and Hammerstein, and he'd arranged for lunch at Sardi's. And I'd gone on my own to New York, dressed like Carrie from Sex and the City, hideously, underdressed. And a limo pulls up, the foot comes out, the coat, and there's Julie. And she walks in and she says, "Connie, darling, oh, you'll catch a chill." I thought, I'm absolutely so embarrassed that I'm dressed like this in front of Julie Andrews the time I've met her. And she gave me her coat, and I wore it throughout lunch. And at the end of the meal, she said, "Would you like to keep it?" And of course, I was too polite, I was too British. I was like, no, you have it back.
I'd met her in Bristol when we first originated the stage play for Mary Poppins. She came back to stage before the show, and she shared all these stories about passing the baton to the next generation, which blew me away. Of course, it's not true. She'll always be the one and only original Mary Poppins. But to say that to me, that changed me. And it changed my perspective on helping the next generation too.
It is such a privilege to meet your idol, but it's also the scariest thing, because you think, what if she falls off the pedestal? But I can absolutely tell you, without a shadow of a doubt, she did not.
She starts being a voice artist, ironically, for someone who thought that her voice was gone forever. She starts to use her voice, whether it's playing the Queen in Shrek or, the mother in Despicable Me. She's just very skillful with her voice. She's very in charge of it.
These are my diving instructors, Vincenzo and Paolo. Ciao, boys.
You wouldn't know it was Julie Andrews, and then, of course, you find out, and it brings a new dimension to it somehow.
In the voice roles, you don't get to see her be the woman who looks like Mary Poppins or Maria. You just get to hear an actor whose voice can do these incredible things, who can be sinister, scary, European, American. She can be funny, she's got comic timing, she can be moving just with her voice.
As the members of our con questioned my identity and means, this author has been doing but one thing. my skills.
I didn't even know she'd done Bridgerton, and I turned it on and I went, oh my God, that's Julie's voice. It's so distinct. But you know what? That takes a very brave person to do that. I mean, she took what she had been given and turned it around to her benefit. That's just who she is.
She's managed to be in 2 films that will be part of our lives forever. She would hate me for saying this next thing, but she's practically perfect in every way.
Thank you, Julie, for walking that walk, because I love that she is not hanging it up. You know, I love it. I love that she's willing, interested, still curious, you know, still open.
She has had some tragedy thrown her way, and she's overcome it all in such a courageous way that a lot of that, I think, makes for a very complete and interesting person.
She's a wonderful girl. She's fun, she's intelligent, she's kind, she's generous. Every year on my birthday, there's a big bunch of flowers for me. For her chum. She calls me my chum. That's my happy talk when I hear that.
With a killer on the loose, who can be trusted? Brand new drama Murder Before Evensong continues Tuesday at 9. And tonight, are Harry and Meghan royal hypocrites or victims of a hostile press? We examine the controversial couple brand new at 8:40. Next, 5 News.
Greatness